everyone, and welcome to my second Touch Designer tutorial in a series designed for people who are new to Touch Designer and who would really like to get started. I take my time to explain everything as I go along, why we're doing what we're doing and what each node means as much as I can. And today we're going to be creating something using tops. My intention for this was to create something that is useful for those of you who are into maybe film, animation, graphic design. I use this component that I made quite a bit for my titles, films, and that kind of thing. If you have a look at my screen, you can see I've created a realistic water effect that's displacing the text. This component is actually free at the moment on my Patreon. Feel free to jump in and grab it. If you'd like to stay around and support my Patreon, you're very welcome. That would be always very appreciated, but it is not necessary. It's free. So feel free to use it and let me know if you do. I'll just quickly run you through the component in case you do want to use it. Designed to make some elements of graphic design in graphic animation in Touch Designer a little bit more streamlined. As you can see, we've got the text here. You can change the font and the size and all of that kind of thing. You can change the background. You can get rid of the background and just have a black background or a soft background. You can have this kind of full watery, full effect background, or you can just have a alpha background that you can overlay over things. You can change the color. You can increase the radial light, which gives that kind of really cool through the water light effect. You can increase the detail or decrease the detail of the water, which you can probably see a little bit better here. Radial light. So you can kind of go for like a really kind of zoomed in big water, or like it's kind of almost like it's raining kind of feel, very kind of fluid. Or you can change the displacement image from the noise and into a movie file of your choice. So we'll be creating this realistic water using noise and then learning how to displace the text using it. We're going to be using tops, which are a fantastic place to start when it comes to starting Touch Designer, because it's all about image manipulation. And if you have any experience in other programs when it comes to image and video manipulation, you're going to love tops. They're fun, and they're hard to break. So let's have a try and learn something new today. So I'm going to start by diving into this component. As you can see, we're going to be using a lot of noises and a lot of displacement, and layering up the displacement and the noises will kind of build up to create the texture that we're looking for. And you can use different noises and different types of displacement to create many different kinds of textures. I love everything watery and flowy, and that's kind of my vibe, but you can change this as much as you like. So let's delete this and start from scratch. Okay, so we're going to start with a ramp and a noise. So we're going to click tab on our keyboard and making sure that we're in the top section, which is the purple section. We're going to go over to ramp. Alright, so a ramp is essentially a gradient of different colors that we can use for our creations. And with this ramp over here, you can see you've kind of got this keys that go from black to white with a gradient in between. We're going to be creating lots of different colors to kind of create a nice textured color map. So I'm going to start with some blues, and then I'm going to click on my ramp to create another key, and then I can shift things along as I want them to. So someone's decided to do some backyard banging. Hopefully it's not ruining the audio too much. Okay, so we're going to change a few tones across here. It's looking pretty good. And the last one, make it a little bit more bright blue green. That looks pretty good for now. I'm also just going to drag that last key across so that we don't get like a line. So that will connect to that one. And we're going to go to the phase and we're going to animate it. So we're going to use this expression quite a bit. I'll put it on the screen so you can copy it. But it's going to go abs, capital T for time, dot seconds, times 0.1. And as you can see, that's going to make our gradient kind of go along. Or actually, sorry, I'm a bit obsessed with colors. I like colors to look a certain way. Fix that a bit. Yeah, okay, that's better. Okay. So we're also going to go over to the Common tab and we're going to choose our resolution. For me, I'm going to use 1920 by 1080. Beautiful. Okay, so that's our ramp, and underneath our ramp, we're going to create a noise. So I'm going to click tab and I'm going to choose a noise top. And first thing I'm going to do is go over to Common and make sure it is the same resolution as my ramp, which is for me 1920 by 1080. So there's our noise. First of all, simplex 40 is easiest to animate. So we're going to stick with simplex 40. The period is going to be 1.41. Harmonics and harmonic spread will stay, and so will harmonic gain. The exponent is going to come down a tiny bit to 0.94, and the amplitude will be 0.71, and the offset will stay the same. Okay, then we're going to go over to the transform tab and go to translate 4D, and we're going to put in our trusty little script, which is abs, capital T for time, dot seconds, times 0.1, and now our noise is animating nicely and flowing between forms, which is exactly what we want. Okay, so we're going to stick with the noises for a little while, then we'll come back to our ramp. So this noise is going to go into another noise, so we're going to right click and pull, click tab, and create another noise, and this we're going to actually connect it to both. Okay, now on this noise, the parameters that we're looking for, the period we're going to go all the way up to 6. Harmonics is going to be 5. Harmonic spread, we'll stay at 2, and so will harmonic gain. Exponent 1.52. Amplitude 0.33. And the offset will be down to 0.043. Okay, and then we're going to go over to the output tab and change the alpha to 0 so that we have some alpha poking through. And that looks pretty good. Cool. Okay, so from the first noise, we're going to create an additional noise. I'm just going to hang on, I'm going to animate that noise, I forgot. So simplex 40, transform, translate 40, abs, capital T for time, dot seconds, times 0.1. Okay, excellent. I'm going to copy and paste this noise, Control CV, and on this one, I'm going to change things up slightly. Period is going to be 1.17, harmonics 1, harmonic spread 1.6, harmonic gain 0.54, exponent will be down to 0.35, amplitude 0.08 and offset 0. Okay. Okay, so that's our third noise. That's looking pretty good. It should look something like this. And then we're going to create a displace. And I love displaces. They're just so fun. I don't know exactly how to describe them, but they create a very cool tension between two images. So I'm going to right click and pull, click tab, and go down to displace. So essentially you're warping, one image is warping another image, or they're warping each other, and you can create some really cool stuff with displaces. So highly recommend playing around with them. So with this displace, I'm actually going to connect both points to the displace, and then you'll get something really wacky like that. Not too bad. Oh, okay, no, displace weight 0.1, not 0.01. Okay, that's looking pretty cool. Pretty happy with that. Looking very goopy, a little bit watery, and I'm happy with that. Beautiful. Okay, so we're going to take that into a level. And a level, if you know much about image manipulation, you can change things like opacity, black level, that kind of stuff, contrast, brightness. So with our level, we're going to bring the opacity down. So we're going to go to post, and the opacity will bring it right down to about, I don't know, 0.4-ish. We're going to bump the black level a little to about 0.3. Beautiful. Brightness, I'm going to bump down, 0.4. Gamma, 1.17. Contrast, 1.35. And it should look something like that. Pretty cool. All right. Now we're going to take that into a null. So we're going to right click and pull, tab, null. Beautiful. Okay. So we're going to move back up to our top section now, and we'll come back to this these black and white noises. So from our ramp, we're going to go into a noise. So we're going to right click, pull, tab, noise. Okay, so it should look something like this. And we're going to animate it on the transform, go down to translate 4D, and use our trusty script, abs, capital T for time, dot seconds, time 0.1, and we'll got this kind of cool, it kind of looks like clouds moving in fast, which I like. We're going to bring that into another ramp. To bring a little bit more color subtlety. So we're going to right click and pull, tab, ramp. And this time I'm going to do something similar, but the colors will be a little softer. So I'm choosing colors that are going to be bluey greens, but just a little bit softer than the other ramp. So okay, so once we've completed our second ramp, we're going to drag it into a displace. So we're going to right click, pull, tab, displace. Okay, beautiful. And as you can see, displace always needs two inputs. But for this one, we want to bring in some of this noise into that displace. So, but first, this noise needs to get displaced on itself. Displace. There we go. We're going to connect both inputs to the displace. So that one should look something like that. Okay, beautiful. So the displace weight for this one is going to be 0.09. That looks pretty good. Happy with that. Cool. Okay, so with this one is going to get connected up to this displace in the color. So we're going to drag that and pull and connect that into there. And then you can start to see we're starting to get some trippy, watery effects starting to occur, which is always exciting. Beautiful. So on this displace, the displace weight is going to be 0.08. Again, you can play with these parameters later to make it look the way that you would like it to, but hopefully this is helpful. So as you can see, getting some really nice wobbly goodness happening. We like that, looking great. Cool. Amazing. Okay, so we're going to bring this one, right click, pull tab into a null. Okay, and we're going to take, so we've got our level and our null, and then this one is going to pull into a comp. So we're going to right click and pull composite. Now composite is when you bring two images together. It's like in Photoshop when you have blending modes. I love composites a lot. They're really cool and fun to play with. So this composite, what we're going to do, hopefully it doesn't get too complicated to explain, but so we've got this one, this ramp, secondary ramp, is going to come down to this composite. So we're going to right click and pull down to my composite, and I'll get something that looks a bit like this. So with our composite over here, you can see we've got different operations, and I'm actually going to keep this one as a multiply. I just want to make sure, yeah, so we've got the null on top and the ramp underneath, and we want it to look like this, subtle, with lots of alpha showing through the back. Okay, that's coming together nicely. Now we're going to leave this up here, and from this null we're going to come down to another displace. So we're going to go tab, displace, and we're going to plug both into there, and this displace will have a weight of 0.01. Okay, and then that will start to look something like this, nice and goopy. We're happy with that. We're going to put a level under that, so right click, pull tab level. And again, the level is great for things like opacity, free. Yeah, so we're going to bring the contrast up. So I'm going to go like 4 on the contrast. Bring the gamma up to 1.14 and the brightness up to 2. Okay, and then we'll get this very subtle white highlights happening here. And we can probably, yeah, I'm happy with that, but you can come back and play with it if you want more highlights. But essentially what I'm creating here is a layer of whiter reflections. So you can, if you want more, you can always just bring the gamma up. I'm going to leave it about there for now. Great. So we've got kind of 3 levels now. We've got our top level, which has got our colors, and we've got a colorful alpha and then a white alpha. And we're going to blend these together, and hopefully that will create a really nice layered effect to our water. So up at the top level, we're going to go right click, pull tab, and we're going to choose an over. Over is similar to a composite. It brings 2 images together, but just one on top of the other. We're going to connect. Okay, so I'm going to go null to over, and then the level from level 2 is going to go up into our over, like that. Okay. Okay, so then you can see that that's just added a little bit of white highlights to kind of simulate, you know, highlight refractions kind of thing. And that's brought that in nicely. So with our second level, we're going to bring that over into another over. So we're going to right click, pull, tab, over. And this is where our composite is going to come in. So this one here that's got the alpha with a little bit of color showing through, that's going to go into this over. So that's pretty much it for our water. We can change things as we like, probably changing the period. So that is our background from the over, which is what we're displaying right now. I'm going to create a null. So I'm going to right click, tab, null, and there we go. Okay, so there's our picture of our water. It's a good start. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to create our text. So then we're going to overlay our text over the top of our water, and then we're going to displace it. And I originally fell in love with this kind of process in one of Torrin Blackensmithen's tutorials, where he talks about it's all about hand tracking, and one of the things he does is he creates this beautiful text that is all displaced, and I was really inspired by it, so I'm kind of creating my own version of it, and I like to use it quite a bit. So we're going to go with a tab. We're going to just use render text, and then here we can write whatever we want. Just going to write water and make sure that the resolution is the same as what we were using before. And with the we're going to go over to font. I'm going to go down to auto fit always. That brings it up nice and big. You can kind of do that manually, but this is nice. So with the auto fit, I'm also going to create a border space, and the border space I'm going to probably like 200, just to get a nice bit of edge around it. And I'm happy with that. Now my favorite font at the moment is this sort of magical hippy dippy font called Tan Pearl. Rather like it, so pretty happy with how that's starting to look. So then I'm going to comp these together. So I'm going to right click and pull, tab, composite, and I'm going to plug this guy in as well. And straight away, because it's on the multiply operation, you can see that's created a cutout of the text is overlaid onto our water in an aesthetically appealing way. So that's a great start. So what we're going to do is we're going to now displace this thing that we've created with our water. So we're going to right click and pull, create another displace, and we're going to plug our null into that. And this displace level, it's going to be pretty low. So we want it to be like maybe 0.01, something like that. Okay, and let's just change that to being the background so we can see. So that's created a very subtle amount of displacement. What I actually like to do is animate the displace weight so that it gets more or less displaced over time when I have created a title. So you might see that in some of my videos, but if I scroll through here, you can see that the displace weight can go really, really wacky all the way down to not much. So we're going to stick to about 0.01 for now. I think that looks pretty cool. Great. So we're going to take this and we're going to make a radial blur behind it. Radial blur is like kind of a very pretty image effect that creates this sort of watery, it feels to me like water, like light pouring through a water. And that is over here in image filters. So I'm going to click over to image filters and go down to radial blur, and then I'm going to pull it over and connect my displace to that. And then underneath that, I'm going to go create a null. And with my radial blur, the center point is going to be 0.5 on both. And if I zoom in a bit, you can see that that's started to create that kind of watery blur look. I'm going to bring the strength up a little bit, so to about 0.3-ish, but this is up to you and your preferred aesthetic. And we're going to bring the dry wet mix down a little bit. Actually no, we're going to go back over to image filters, and we're going to use a RGBA delay. So we're going to pull that, grab it and pull it here, and we're going to connect it. And I like to do this because what that does is creates that I guess a refraction, like color refraction look, prism look. As you can see, the colors are kind of coming through in that rainbow. Beautiful. So that's going to be kind of behind our main text. So we're going to bring it over. So right click and pull, tab over. Okay, and this one is going to go in. Right click and pull, tab, null, and we're going to turn that on, turn that off. This is like the little circles, what is displayed on in the background. So if we do that, then anything we add along here we can see. Okay, so there it is. This is kind of the main concept. Before the null, to create a black background, we can right click, insert operator, go down to a transform, and we're going to go to background color, the last one, which is alpha will be 1, and we're going to comp over so that we've got this happening. I think that looks pretty good, but I want to add a little bit more depth to my background. So what I'm going to do is, in order to do that, is I'm going to bring in my null 3 over here, which I might even rename just to help me remember, water BG. And then I'm going to pull this over here. So I'm going to right click and pull, tab, and then I'm going to use an add. And I'm going to plug my water into the add. Okay, so it looks something like that. Now, I'm happy with that. I'm going to go in with a lens distort because I really want it to feel like it's being distorted even more by the water. So I'm going to right click and pull and go to a lens distort, which I've really been into lens distorts lately. I find them quite fun to play with. And I'm just going to bring the K1 down a little bit, and that'll just sort of, as you can see, bring those corners out, which brings a kind of cone effect, which is kind of what it looks like when you're looking at goggles underwater, I feel. I'm happy with how that's looking. We're going to bring in another RGBA delay to that as well. Just again, we're just trying to create that like prismatic, watery kind of vibe. See how that's really brought in some really nice prismatic rainbows, which I rather like. I'm going to bring that down a little bit just so it's a little bit more subtle. Yeah, that's pretty good. I'm liking how that's looking. I'm going to bring that into a null. Okay, so now I've actually got two options here. I can use this for my final artwork, or I can use this as a subtle background for my final artwork, which is what we're going to do now, but you can just do what you like. So I'm going to bring this null here into a level. So again, we're going to change the opacity right down. I think we'll probably go to like 1. Yeah, that's pretty good. And if you want to have the option to keep this one, we're going to pull that out. Right click, pull, tab, null. And now you've got kind of a few different options that you can play around with. Pull this across. Okay, so with the level, we're going to bring this into an over. So I'm going to hover on this so it turns yellow, right click on it, insert operator, and we're going to use an over. Okay, and this one is going to go into the underneath of that. And as you can see, that's created a pretty good background. In this case, the color is a little darker than my original one, so I'm actually just going to bring the opacity down a little bit just so it's not too overwhelming. I can change the colors on my ramps, but I won't do that right now. After the over, I might add a little bloom. So I will hover on this, right click, insert operator, bloom, just want a little bit. Again, lots of little things added up subtly can create pretty good. And there we have it. We have our water displacement. We've got options to have the background or not. You can add a switch here if you like. You've got a realistic water that you can use for anything that you like. If you want to displace your text that is with something that is not this water noise that you have created, you can just replace this with a movie file in. So we go tab, movie file in, and connect all of these to your movie file in. Then you can essentially displace your text with anything that you like. I'm not going to do that right now, but that option is available on my component if you want to use it. We can change the colors of our ramp. We go to the first noise and we change the period. Going small will create a more detailed water, and going big, even up to like 4, you can create a much more kind of bigger, goopier kind of water. And there you go. I hope that you have enjoyed this tutorial. Let me know if you have tried it. I would love to see your creations, and yeah, enjoy your touch designer journey. Goodbye.